frequently, and she knew as soon as she got the message from her godmother, she needed to get to where she was. And she had received a letter from her godmother, Clarice, only a week before. So she was in her car and getting very close to the cottage, which was out by the Cape and near the ocean. As she rounded the last curve to the cottage, her headlights caught something in the light, and it was
a mouse, but it wasn't like any mouse she had normally seen before. It was huge. I mean, this was a mouse the size of a jackrabbit. I didn't think that mice got to be this big. It scared her a bit, but it just scurried across the road and kind of got out of the way. So she wasn't too worried. I mean, it was only just one mouse. It couldn't be anything too serious, could it? A single mouse on a dark road like that, scurrying out of the way. So she just got out of the car and headed on over to the cottage to check on Clarice to see how she was doing, because anytime she had a dream that something was wrong with Clarice, it was usually something serious. So she was a little concerned, and as she approached the door, she started to wonder if that mouse was an omen of some kind. Giant mouse running across the road on a dark night after a dream. Well, she knocked on the door, but as she did, she saw it was kind of open, and so she pushed in and entered the house. It wasn't like Clarice to leave the door open like that. As soon as she got in,
there was a very strange smell. And although Clarice was an avid baker, it was not Clarice to bake at night. She had strict schedules about everything she cooked, and she had very specific recipes. It had always made Mary Ann wonder if she was part of a cult or a group, or maybe, which Mary Ann could not possibly believe, a witch. And every time she thought about that, about Clarice, it made her kind of shudder, because it reminded her of the dreams she had, and that maybe it wasn't her own intuition that brought those dreams to her, but the power of her godmother. So she moved forward into the house with this strange smell, knowing that it couldn't be the baking. And she called out to Clarice, "Godmother?" It was kind of quiet because she wasn't sure she wanted a response. "Godmother!" "Mary Ann!" Clarice sounded so far away. "Mary Ann, is that you?" "Yes, where are you? It's very dark and it smells funny." And Clarice said,
I'm here behind this door. It is dark. It's so dark I can barely see. It's as if I'm in a dark tunnel. Oh, Mary Ann, I'm so glad you've come, but please help me. I fear I'm dying. I fear that old reaper has finally come for me. I've held him off for so many years. But I'm missing tonight just one ingredient. If I had just some cayenne pepper, I could complete the spell that would hold him at bay for one more night. And then in the morning, in the bright sunlight, we could plan together to renew the charms that keep him away. But now I need that pepper. And so Mary Ann
was stunned. Although she had always suspected that it was possible that her godmother was of the occult, she never actually believed it. And she was afraid. She wasn't even sure that she wanted to help her godmother. I mean, what in the world did it even mean that she was a witch? And why cayenne? It was a spice she had never really liked. She certainly didn't keep any on her. So she asked these questions to Clarice. "What does it mean that you're a witch?" Clarice said, "We don't have time for this discussion. You know that I love you and everything will be fine. Just please drive down farther the windy road and there is a store that's open and you can get the pepper and come back to me. There was something in her voice that made Marianne not completely trust her godmother, although she had always been someone she could. But she got in her car and she drove to the store and she brought the cayenne back to her godmother and knocked on the door that she said she was behind. Well, when the door opened,
an old wizened hand, almost a skeleton, reached out and grabbed that cayenne pepper and quickly drew it back and slammed the door. And then this smell that had been pervasive in the house intensified with now a spicy odor to it. And there was a scream, but it wasn't a scream like any human being would ever make. It was a crackly, dead kind of scream, as if the devil himself or his minion death had come and died behind that door. And after a bit of time, and the scream ceased and the door opened and out came
her godmother, transformed, years younger than she had ever seen her before. Only in pictures had she ever seen Clarice that way. And there was something in her eyes that made all of Marianne's fear melt away. And she hugged her godmother, and she knew she would be fine. And she also knew that it was possible that she too could be a witch.